put that to Sian Elliott, who's the Senior Policy Officer at CUC. Good morning to you, Sian.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much. I mean, we've seen like survey after survey of, it's healthcare workers and the like and teachers, and we're constantly told that, a huge percentage of them on any given day are considering leaving their profession. How much thought should we put into this survey that you've carried out?
I think a lot of thought should be put in this survey because this is only one part of the picture. We know that the NHS has a huge recruitment and retention crisis. It's got the highest levels of vacancies on record, 1 in 10 posts. We know that in education, NQTs, newly qualified teachers, 1 in 8 leave within the first year of qualifying. This is after taking on student debt and the years of training that they go through. As many as 1 in 5 are gone within the first 5 years.
But hold on a minute, is that due to pay or is a lot of it down to actually people have not prepared themselves? I'm amazed by how many people decide on a particular career they're going to do, having never actually got an idea of what it's actually like day to day, what you're actually doing day to day. A lot of them may just be a bit shocked by, it's a hard job. There's no doubt at all. That's a hard job. You need to be prepared for it.
Well, that's exactly why we did this poll, to understand why do we have this recruitment and retention crisis. And these are the key workers that helped get us through the pandemic. So they are dedicated,
everyone got
workers.
Us through the pandemic. I'm just so fed up with this nonsense. Supermarket workers got us through this. Lorry drivers got us through this. Loads of people working in sewage plants got us through this. It's not just public sector workers that got us through this. Most public sector workers did, frankly, bugger all during COVID. They didn't get us through this at all.
I think nurses that were working in COVID...
Yes, they were doing a great job. The nurses sitting on empty wards weren't doing a great job. Not their fault, admittedly. But can we stop this nonsense that everyone working in the public sector is a saint? They're not. They're doing a job. They're paid for it.
Absolutely. They're doing a job and they're paid for it. And one of the problems that we have right now is that NHS workers, teachers, workers across the public sector have had their pay held down by government over the last 12 years. It's been a deliberate political choice by government to impose pay cuts, pay freezes. And now the average nurse is earning £4,000 less than they were in 2010 in real terms.
In real terms.
And what that means is that people are being driven to breaking point when we are in the middle of the economic crisis that we have right now, where we have midwives turning to food banks in order to feed their families, where we have care workers who say, I can't afford the petrol in my car in order to go and do the home visits I need to for the people that I care for. And when people, exactly as you say, can't go to work and earn a decent day's living for what is a really hard day's work, then they are going to be faced with really difficult choices.
What does a midwife earn?
Average midwife starting figures are somewhere in around the 20,000s.
And the average earning for a midwife, or certainly in London, which is all the highest cost places to live, looking at 37,000. Why are they going to food banks? We keep hearing this trope about nurses and midwives going to food banks. Is there any evidence for this statement?
There's absolutely evidence. I met a midwife only a few weeks ago at the Royal College of Midwives. They had a pay rally and she was there talking about she's a single mum, she's raising 2 children and she turns to food banks in order to get her family fed.
OK, but no. Midwife starting salary in the UK is 25,500, rising to 31,000 with 4 or more years experience. Yeah. Can go up to 39,000 with 5 or more years experience. The issue there is not the pay, because there are millions of people earning far less than that who don't go to food banks. A lot of the reason why people go to food banks is down to, by the way, where's dad paying for the kids, by the way? There are personal family circumstances that are getting them into that situation rather than their pay.
I would beg to differ. We've just seen...
You have to go to a food bank on 37,000 a year. Really?
We talked about the starting salary being in the 25,000.
25,000.
These are people
millions and millions of people earn 25 grand a year. Well, millions of people who don't go to food banks.
The average salary in this country is around 30,000, just under 30,000. So that's the median.
But we don't see everyone who earns under 30 grand going to a food bank, do we? So,
you'd be surprised. My mum volunteers at a food bank near to where we live. You'd be amazed at the people that have to turn to food banks.
I think there are people during this energy crisis. I think there are people who've never had to rely on charity ever before, who are being pushed. Energy bills doubling, cost in the supermarket. Absolutely, I completely get that. But I do think we don't need to exaggerate what's really going on. I think to have the reality check on what is going on. The reality is an awful lot of people in the private sector are also facing a lot of difficulties as well. What is the solution? We give everyone in the public sector a big pay rise, and then what? How do we pay for it? Because we're going to have to put everyone's taxes up, including those in the public sector.
So pay across the economy as a whole is falling in real terms last month compared to the same time previous year, about £100. In the public sector, real pay is falling by over £190. There is a particular issue going on in the public sector, and that is government control the pay. If you work in the private sector, you, along with your union, can negotiate directly with your employer to set your pay for that year. The problem is government aren't in many cases coming to the table. They're not creating fair deals for public sector workers, and therefore we have a particular issue. But of course, as a TUC, we want to see everyone's wages rising. That's the solution to getting out of this cost of living crisis.
Well, again, if we all get a pay rise, then I think that probably ends up being more inflationary. But Sian Elliott, really good to talk to you, TUC Senior Policy Officer.